Liza P is yet another game tackling the surprisingly hard to tackle Souls-like genre. Many game developers try their hand and most of them end up releasing shallow, poor copycats with no identity of their own that you end up forgetting about, after a few weeks. These games also miss on key components that make Souls games special, having a good mixture of lore, fair but punishing combat, stunning visuals, iframes, and huge replay value. Does Liza P deliver on anything, or is it yet another game that will fall into the abyss with the other failed Souls-like games like the original Lords of the Fallen and Mortal Shell? Well, I'm putting Liza P on the scales of judgment. This experienced Souls player will tell you if it's any good or not. But first, understand who developed this game. Round 8 Studios and NeoWiz. NeoWiz is a South Korean company famously known for two things: mobile games and infamous failures of an MMO, like Bless Unleashed. To quickly talk about Bless is an MMORPG that seemingly goes through phases of releasing, getting shut down, then getting a new name like Bless Online and Bless Unleashed and Bless whatever, get re-released again, and then get shut down again. NeoWiz is known for giving up on games, abandoning them in their communities. It's important to mention this because this is why some gamers are hesitant to even try Liza P. Gamers fear buying a game that might be abandoned like previous games from NeoWiz, though NeoWiz themselves has said that they will support Liza P in the future and plan on a sequel. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the story of Liza P. This is a spoiler-free video, so don't expect me to show like a lot of boss fights. I'm going to show some, a little bit here and there, but we'll try to hold off on cutscenes and, including full boss fights and having heavy context on plot. Liza P, unlike, even some Souls games, actually isn't that cryptic. When it comes to From Software games and how they show lore, they're very cryptic about how they do it. Is you got to piece together so much stuff and read between the lines to understand, Dark Souls and Sekiro and Elden Ring's lore. Well, Liza P, if you actually just read the text of items and books and the things you come across in the game and just pay attention, it's all very clear and gives you all the answers you need on, what is the good ending. There's 3 endings, and what is the bad ending, and, what decisions you should or shouldn't make in the game. It's all very clear when you read what's in the game. But anyways, Liza P takes place in a city called Krat, a city that has heavy influence from Italy, as Liza P is a game based on the story of Pinocchio, which takes place in Tuscany. You play as Pinocchio, a robotic puppet that is special compared to other puppets because, like others, he has the ability to lie, which plays a role during the game's important story decisions. As I said before, this game does have 3 endings, and whether you lie or tell the truth has a big impact on which ending you end up receiving. Puppets were invented in the city of Krat that thanks to the discovery of a revolutionary power source called Ergo, which is what you use in this game to level up. It's what your runes or your souls are in this game. To give you a good idea on how this fusion of puppets and Ergo work, think of puppets and AI as kind of a similar thing. Like, think about robots in art, like in real life, in science fiction, robots and AI. This game's story follows that trope of robots with AI becoming self-aware and overthrowing humanity. In this game, it's not exactly the same thing, but you can see the similarities where, the puppets are just, they're doing menial tasks, they're doing manual labor, they're doing slave labor, things like that, and something happens that involves them, going, batshit and become killer puppets, and that's just how this game goes. But these killer puppets are not the only enemies in Liza P, as a disease is also spreading throughout the city, turning humans into mindless, decaying monsters. That's pretty much all I'm going to say about the story's background and setting. Like I said, this is a spoiler-free review. I like the story. It's unique. Yes, the story of Pinocchio isn't unique itself, but we've never seen, it told in this way. We've never seen a Pinocchio video game, especially like this. Not this, especially a Souls game format. This gives Liza P its own identity. I mentioned at the beginning of this video, a lot of Soul-like games don't have their own identity. They're just copycat games with very, very weak story and just, passable combat. They don't have their own identity, their own skin. This game has an identity, and that's what separates it from the other games, because it doesn't lack what the Soul copycats, lack. The developers played enough Souls games to understand how From Software tells their stories. Items in the game carry lore, NPCs have lore, but are very, open about how they tell their lore compared to Souls games. There's a hub where NPCs gather to assist or speak with the main character. This is a game that has been making from software, but it does it in a way that, though familiar, there's enough uniqueness for it to be able to stand on its own. Let's jump in to talk about the combat. Liza P's combat shares similarities with Bloodborne and Sekiro more than any other game, but it's also a game that kind of wants to force you into playing the game in a certain way. This game's combat lacks the freedom you would see in a From Software game. You can't dodge roll unless you aren't locked on. When locked on, the game relies on side steps, left step, right step, back steps. You get the gist, to avoid enemy hits, which wouldn't be so bad if the game's hit frames weren't so bad. This is a game where you can completely avoid an attack and still get hit by it. This isn't an unintentional design flaw. This game does that to inflate difficulty, giving you fake difficulty, or as they call it, inflating difficulty, to force you to not rely on using dodges, but instead rely on blocking and perfect blocking, or guard, as the game calls it, to be able to survive fights. This game wants you to be a parry god. And if you're not good at parrying, you will be punished in this game. This design choice makes Liza P a very punishing game in and of itself. Something you really hear me say when referring to Souls games: Liza P is hard. Most Souls games and most Soul-like games, I don't consider them hard. I don't consider them, incredibly punishing or unrealistically difficult. But this game is unrealistically difficult and very hard, and will be a big, reason why a lot of people won't finish the game or play the game. A lot of people won't get past the first act of this game because it's just how hard it is. There's so much for you to learn, and if you don't want to go through the gauntlet of punishment that this game is going to put you through, you will not like this game. But like I said, when it comes to Souls games though, especially Dark Souls and Elden Ring, when you learn those games become pretty easy. Like, yes, they're brutal when you're new to them, but when you're experienced as Souls games, they are pretty easy to play. But Liza P, with how chunky the health bar is on enemies, with how every enemy, even the irrelevant ads, have delayed attacks, with how large the hit frames are for boss enemies, and how punishing the game overall is, Liza P is a very hard game. When you keep hearing me say, hear another person tell you that this game's hard, we're not, blowing smoke of the game's ass. This is a hard game. You will go through moments where it's incredibly fun and moments where you want to uninstall because of how punishing the game can be, and feeling like some encounters are unforgiving. A lot of this is because of the big hitboxes on not just your character, but the hit frames enemies have, but also the way the game wants you to play defense. If you aren't good at parrying, you will have an even harder time with this game. The parry window is very small and just as unforgiving as the rest of the game. And this game gets harder and harder as you progress through it. But I will say this though, when it comes to the combat, from what I've been told, if you maintain your weight at a way to where you're not heavy or slightly heavy, once you get slightly heavy, it's a problem. But from what I've been told, that this game's designed in a way to where if you're under the slightly heavy, if your weight, you actually have more iframes than you would otherwise, and that's how you can avoid taking damage when you do try to do a dodge roll or a dodge step back from enemies. So this is a game it is a game where it's very easy to be overweight. A lot of things in this game will put you overweight very easily. Most people who play this game are playing as slightly overweight or slightly heavy, as the game will call it. So that's why most people are having that complaint. Personally, myself, when I have been underweight, I've been able to move so fast, and it is a night and day difference when it comes to dodging. So maybe there is some significance to those comments that if you have a character who's underweight, you have a better chance of doing some dodge rolls. Visually, Liza P is lovely to look at. It has that Bloodborne aesthetic, but for an Italian location. I have experienced some texture pop-ins and some frame dips, but overall the game maintains its look throughout. And unlike some copycats, Liza P has a good atmosphere. Sound of the World, with the mixture of the in-game music, is really good. The music, the soundtrack, adds to the world building and the uniqueness of this Pinocchio experience. The world building is very, very nice. Lighting is nice. Some areas do look too muddy and grayed out, but that's a design choice, and I don't want to use it as a negative towards the game when it looking muddy and grayed out is a design choice. I don't think it hurts the game. Overall, I'd say Liza P has enough to draw you in, but rather you will be based on how much you can manage your mauling. This game will make you mauled. It is unapologetically punishing. Enemies can go into attack chains that last so long somewhere. If you didn't dodge the initial attack, you're just locked into an enemy chain of attacks. This game has no poise, so if you do get lots of chain of attacks, you're going to lose a lot of health and you might die within that chain of attack. If you're getting ready to do the charge attack, you get hit, you get knocked out. Like even the regular ads in the game have poise, but your character doesn't. So you be fighting, some armless, headless, legless enemy who has more poison than your character does. I've had encounters where I stood behind a boss enemy in this game who has a straight line attack with a great sword, and I went behind him and he did an attack forward. The attack still landed on me. That's how big the hitboxes are for the boss weapons. And I've watched where weapons land on enemy attacks because I do reviews, so I'm watching this and seeing exactly where attacks land, and they will completely miss, but you will still take damage. It's gonna be frustrating and lead to you wanting to give up on the game. If that's something that you seriously don't want to deal with, this isn't the game for you. But if you stick with it, learn how the game wants you to play it. Whether it's Punishing Storms, Liza P is a good game. It's a great game even. When it's not making me want to throw my controller, it is a phenomenal game. It stands out on its own as a very good video game. My score for Liza P is an 8 out of 10. It's one of the best Souls games out there when it comes to these Souls copycat games. And unlike majority of the mimics, it has its own identity and it's very interesting story. When it's not making me angry, I really enjoy playing the game. My first playthrough is a Dex build. I'm considering another playthrough as an advanced build, which is basically a magic based build. And I'll try to go for a different ending. Yeah, I got what I think is considered the good ending. I could be wrong on it. I'm not going to show anything when it comes to the ending because again, this is a spoiler-free review. But I already do want to do another playthrough. And I always say that's a good replay value is a good way to tell if someone does really enjoy a video game. Because if it doesn't have replay value, that means the game wasn't actually that good. What holds this game back is some of those design choices that make some encounters feel unforgiving. Unforgiving equals unfun moments. Wish they honestly noticed some of the enemy's damage output and actually fix the frames so boxes aren't landing hits when they missed. And as I say that, they actually did announce a patch for PS5 at least. I don't know when it's coming out for Xbox and PC that will be for some bosses and fixing some frames. So they definitely hear us. But outside of that, it is a very good game. Now, before I wrap this video up, this is going to be a long video. I do want to give you guys some tips. And this isn't like a portion of the review where it's going to be super long to give you these tips. I just want to give you guys some quick tips so you guys who do want to go ahead and play this game don't screw yourself over. The first thing is be careful when it comes to watching any kind of videos on this game, especially build videos. Build videos, understand that the people who make them only beat the game once usually, and they're basically going with what worked for them. And it might not work for you. It might not. You can take some of their ideas and mix and match with your own play style, your own ideas. But if you just copy paste what they do, you might have an awful time because your play style might not fit what they do. It might not fit what their build is. So be careful with that. A lot of people give bad advice with this game. I've seen people give advice like all the Legion arms, which are these special arms, prosthetics that Pinocchio has. There's one that does fire, one that does electricity. There's one that has a grapple hook attached to it. There's one that shoots, like little rockets out of it. There's one that's a shield. There's one that has the decay damage. So there's all these little prosthetics. I saw someone say that all but 2 of them are bad. And it's that's not true. Based on how you play the game, based on your build, all of them can be good. For example, I play most with the Aegis, which is one that's shield. Because I'm, like I said, this game wants you to parry a lot. And this is a shield that's very, very good for parrying and breaking enemies. It basically allows you to parry at an easier, better rate than anything else in the game. I've seen someone say that shield is garbage. But I've also seen someone else say that it's the best arm in the game, including myself, who thinks it's also the best arm in the game. But also, I've used the fire one. The fire one was very, very useful if you're doing an advanced build. So it's the electricity one if you're doing an advanced build as well. This game, like a Souls game, does have scaling. The Aegis that I use scales with Dex. So of course, me with a Dex build, I'm using that a lot, and it's scaling with my build. So be careful. Look at what they say and take it as advice. But don't just copy paste what they do because you can mess yourself up. The other thing I want to say is watch your weight. You know, if you really want to try to avoid taking damage when you do your back steps, your steps to the left and to your right, make sure you do not get overweight. This is a game where the soft caps are pretty early, so you don't need to be having freaking like 55, you know, for your damage, 55 for your health. So don't be afraid to put some of your attributes into your capacity, which is how you increase your carry weight in this game. And for the most part, just understand that you're going to die in this game. That's kind of like what I want to leave you on is understand that you're going to die in this game, and it's okay, because that's kind of like the identity of these kind of games. They want to punish a player, and you will kind of learn from the bosses, learn their tails and things like that. That's why dying isn't too bad, because you get to learn, what you did wrong and how to attack at a better rate and then on the next situation. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. I've been your boy, Anubis Gamer Archer. If you want to see me play video games live on Twitch, I have a Twitch stream. Link will be in the description box below. A variety of video games. Right now we're playing Cyberpunk's DLC. I don't know when you guys can see this video, so I might be done Cyberpunk's DLC. Next month we're playing Resident Evil 4 remake, because spooky season. We're gonna play Assassin's Creed Mirage on stream. You might see Liza P on stream again at some point for our second playthrough. We'll see. It probably depends on what we're doing between beating some games. But I hope you all enjoy this video. Do all these algorithm likes, just connect microphone. It's in Game Pass, so if you're on Xbox or on PC, you want to try it out, and if you don't like it, you lose nothing because it's in Game Pass. But yeah, I'll see you guys when I see you. I'll be your boy Anubis. I'm out of here.